You know what? I'm gonna tell you guys this story. I really shouldn't, and you're gonna want to hear this. And we get in the taxi, and I think I'm sitting next to her, and I just say, "Yo, you should kiss me right now." This was me 3 months ago. I was depressed, and while I still got a lot of work done, by around 6 or 7 p.m., I would almost assuredly be high. And before quarantine hit, I would go out and drink about once a week. And this type of drinking was to get drunk. I wasn't drinking just a couple beers casually, I was there to get drunk. This was much worse in college, but smoking was a near daily activity for me for a couple of years, and drinking was a once a week thing for pretty much since high school. That's a long time. Now, I am not saying I quit both of these things completely, because I haven't. When I drink now, it'll be like once every 3 or 4 weeks, and when I do drink, I'm not trying to drink to get drunk. I'll just have like 1 or 2 drinks of alcohol. And smoking will only be on special occasions, so I would put that at like once a month, maybe twice a month. So why did I start to do this? Well, I'm gonna go over that in this video, and I'm gonna go over how this has affected my sleep, my productivity, and my overall well-being. If you smoke or drink regularly, you're gonna wanna watch all of this. This might just change your life. How we doing, everybody? It's Cole Hastings. If you are new to my channel, it is all about vegan fitness and self-help, so consider subscribing and hitting the bell so you don't miss a video. So first, let's go over why. Why did I stop smoking and why did I stop drinking? Well, I honestly don't really remember. It kind of just naturally happened because of quarantine. Now, smoking was something that I was realizing, we're gonna start off with smoking. It was something I realized that I was just not getting anything out of. There was nothing positive out of the experience of smoking that I was getting out of it. And it took me a very long time to see this. And one of the excuses I used for smoking was always, oh, you know, it relaxes me, it calms me, it's good for sleeping, and it's better for my creativity. Like, I'll have a different type of mindset where I'm in a more creative mindset when I am smoking. And these were really just excuses that I gave myself to never stop smoking, because it got to a point where it was absolutely a mental addiction, not a physical addiction, because, you know, you can't really get physically addicted to weed, but you can get addicted to pretty much anything. That goes for working out, which I am addicted to. That goes for, you know, even eating healthy habits you can become addicted to. It doesn't necessarily have to be that thing causes like physical withdrawals. Also, I want to make the disclaimer that this is not applicable to everyone, because I know people who smoke all day, every day, and they are productive as hell. They get more done and they just feel better when they're smoking. But for me personally, I was lying to myself. I was a different person and not a better different person when I was on the green. So firstly, I would be more tired when I decided to smoke, and more tired in general. So when I smoke, obviously, no matter what type of strand it is, I'm going to feel a little more tired and a little less active than I was before. It slows down my body, it slows down my brain in a sense, and I just would have less of a drive to do things. And this goes for in general too, because even when I was sober, I'd still have less energy during that time because of how frequently I was smoking. And because of that, because I was more tired, I would say that my productivity was a little worse. Now, I got to the point where I was doing it so much where I could actually be productive when smoking. And that is awesome, but for the work that I do, like video editing and other stuff that I do, like coaching and having to interact with people especially, but we're gonna go over that in just a second here, so stick around for that. It was just not as good. It wasn't as high quality of work. And it also took me longer to get that work done, because my brain just wasn't functioning as properly as it does when it is in a sober mind. And I can think of so many times while I was video editing after I smoked, and I would just go through the motions slower. Like, I would stop for literally like 30 seconds or something on something, and I would be like, wait, what am I doing again? And I'd be like, oh, okay, so I gotta do this. And then I would stop, my brain would just go back and forth, and it just, like I said, it wasn't as good. And one of the most important reasons, probably the most important reason as to why I stopped smoking, was because I was less social and I was just more awkward. I felt less of like myself. I remember at parties and social situations where people, offer me something to smoke. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And then afterwards, like usually 90% of the time afterwards, I would regret it because the rest of the party or social situation, I would just not really talk to people. I would sit down, I would like use my phone more, and I would be much less likely to go up to a stranger and talk to them because I just couldn't formulate words as good. That is just me when I smoke. And that means that I would have less opportunities to network with people, which is so important, especially with what I do. And it also means that I would go out much less, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Obviously you don't want to go overboard on going out to bars or going out to social situations. But if I had smoked earlier in that day and someone was like, yo, we're doing this tonight, the chances of me going to do that thing were reduced down to I would say 20%. Because I know that if I tried to put myself in that situation after I had smoked, that it wouldn't go well. And that means that I just realized this, I was less confident in myself in general. Being more awkward like I was when I smoked means that I was less confident in who I was less confident in me actually being able to execute a good conversation with somebody. And these are all things that contribute to a lower quality of life for me. And again, that is just my personal experience. Like I said, other people, they'll smoke and they'll be perfectly fine, if not a better person or a better version of themselves. But I found that it was giving me zero benefits. There was no reason for me to do this. And it wasn't my natural state, who I believe I really am. Now, I'm someone who I consider to be pretty spiritual. And because of that, I feel like when I'm sober, when I'm in my natural state, is when I attract the most positive things to my life, when I'm the most confident, when I believe the most in myself, when I'm the most socially interacting with everybody. I feel and I believe that I truly am the best version of myself. And that means that I'm going to attract the best qualities of my life to my life, if that makes sense to you guys. So because after smoking was not my natural state, I would attract less of the things that I would want out of my life into my life. And this means relationships, this means income, this means being happier in general. All of those things just started to improve when I stopped smoking. And here's a big one with people who smoke. They say that it helps them sleep. And I can get behind that if you mean it helps you fall asleep better. As for whether it helps you sleep better throughout the night, I think there's been studies on this where it really does affect the quality of your sleep when you are actually asleep. And for me, from my personal experience, I would definitely agree with that. I find that I sleep much better now that I've been off of smoking for so long. And at the start, this was harder. I'm gonna admit that at the start of not smoking, I would sleep worse because I was so used to, I was kind of addicted to the sleep that I was getting when I was smoking, and it was much easier to fall asleep after I smoked. But that goes away after a period of time, and it's likely that you will find that your quality of sleep improves, and that means you're gonna have more energy and just get more out of life. All right, let's go on to the big one. The big one that so many people do all the time. Well, probably not all the time, but you guys probably do it pretty often, and that is drinking alcohol and really just drinking a lot of drinks to get drunk. Well, what made me want to quit alcohol? Well, I find that I just don't really feel the same when I'm drunk as I used to, like in high school and college. I just found it to be more fun. And now after I drink and I realize that this is pretty okay, but I know that the next morning I'm gonna feel awful and I'm kind of regretting this. It's just not as fun while I am drunk, and I don't know, it's not really worth it for me anymore because I find that I can be a better person. I can be just as confident and laid back and relaxed as I am when I'm a little buzzed. You know, people say that alcohol makes you a little relaxed, it makes you, become a little more social, but I can do that without alcohol. So I found again that this was something that wasn't really bringing any benefit into my life from doing it. It was only causing negative side effects. Biggest benefit I can really think of are no more hangovers. Hangovers were the worst. So there's a common saying, I think, that says something like alcohol steals happiness from the next day. And yeah, that is definitely true. The next day after getting drunk, way too drunk, that whole day was pretty much ruined. My productivity was ruined. doing anything that day was probably a no-go, even like hanging out with friends. One of the ways that I actually got over hangovers usually was like, okay, well, this is going to be an absolutely shot day. I'm not going to get anything really, really significant done, so I might as well just go hang out with my friends and smoke. And yeah, you can see how one thing led to another, and they kind of snowballed with each other and made the quality of my life worse. I can just hear my friends and other people watching this video who smoke and drink who are like, bro, you're the biggest pussy ever. Like, I bet you can only drink like 3 beers now and that gets you drunk. And yeah, 3 beers would get me drunk at this point, probably. Another really big thing that would happen when I was on alcohol that doesn't happen anymore is making a fool out of myself and becoming angrier. You know, I can specifically remember times when I would get drunk, and when this is when I was in a relationship, I would get more angry at my significant other, and that is so fucked up. And the next day, every time I would regret it so much, and I would be like, why does this happen to me when I'm drunk? It's because alcohol, you know, it can bring out a lot of the bad qualities in you, and that isn't me. That alcohol version of me is not the true version of me, and that doesn't make any of the things that I did while on alcohol any more excusable. I still regret them, and I'm very sorry for them. And by the way, when I'm talking about this, getting angry at my ex, it was mostly just like emotionally manipulative and like getting angry at her for like the most stupid things, like maybe sitting next to a guy or something. Like, that's how insecure and angry I was back then. Oh my god, thank goodness I'm not that person anymore. So yeah, no more making a fool of myself. And you know what? I'm gonna tell you guys this story. I really shouldn't, and you're gonna want to hear this. So it was freshman year in college, and this girlfriend group that was friends with all the guys that I hung out with in college. You know, we had this group of people that we would go out with. They brought a friend from out of town. And one of my friends I remember mentioned to me, I was talking to her a little bit, and he was like, yeah, man, you got this. I think like she's into you. And I remember just being so drunk, and I was like, okay, here we go. Like, that's good. All right. Like, I got a shot at this. So it was time to leave to go to the actual college parties. And we get in the taxi, and I think I'm sitting next to her, and I just say, yo, you should kiss me right now. I said that. I genuinely said that because I was so hammered. In front of everybody that was in the taxi, everyone was like, what is going on here? Like, looking at each other super weird. Because that's one of the weirdest things that I've ever done. And I'm not afraid to admit that. That was a very long time ago. And holy crap. Yeah. You can judge me all you want for that one. Another thing was muscle recovery and how quickly I was building muscle. It just wasn't as optimal back then. There are so many things that alcohol does to your muscles that breaks them down and causes you to recover less quickly, and therefore I couldn't work out as much, or the workout the next day after I drank was always never good. And you can avoid this and avoid like the muscle recovery things and being sore by just taking an extra day off, but again, you won't be able to work out as much. So I think that's really helped with preserving muscle as well as building muscle. And another thing was my brain just didn't function as well. You know, alcohol is poison. It's a poison. And the fact that this thing that is addictive, and I would say worse, much worse for you than smoking, is legal is kind of crazy, but you know, that's how the government works. That's how making money works, whatever. So it definitely messes up your brain if you do it too much. It's the simple truth. Nothing really good I can think of has come out of alcohol, except for maybe like some really crazy situations that I never would have like accepted or been in that were just like super fun. I probably wouldn't have said yes to or something like that, or been as crazy in that situation if I was sober. Like, I've had some crazy nights because of alcohol, and I don't regret anything about those nights. That's pretty much the only thing I can think of that was positive that came out of alcohol. So pretty much every aspect of my life has improved now. My productivity, my well-being, my sleep, my muscle gains, my social interactions, the things I attract into my life, all because I gave up these two habits, these two addictions that I was doing a lot and were serving zero purpose in my life. It was just the short-term pleasure of doing them for long-term negative side effects. And that's the biggest thing you have to remember if you're trying to quit these things, is that the short-term pleasure you get from being after smoking, you know what I'm saying here, being after smoking And drinking and being drunk is just not worth it in the long haul. The long-term side effects are not worth the feeling you get from these things when you're on them. So if you enjoyed this video and you are going to take on this challenge or just start doing these things less, leave a like on the video if it helped you, if it educated you, and it will push this video out to more people who need to definitely see this, because more people my age definitely need to see this as a 23-year-old. So please leave a like for me and leave a comment with your experiences while smoking or drinking. I'd love to hear, some embarrassing stories. So I love you guys. Thanks for sticking around to the end. You're always the best, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoy the next video.